When we spoke in 2016, you said that the way, it all worked was kind of like a radio play. You're all in the room together. And that was kind of
That's
the
right.
secret sauce. So talk about since March 2020, what had to change and what's different for the production?
Yeah, so animation was one of the sort of entertainment genres that mostly survived the pandemic because obviously I was actually recording my parts of my Lisa Simpson here in this room for until from March 2020 until August 2020. We had started to do our table reads, which is the very first time that the writers hear the script all together because the cast is all together. It's the first time that they hear what jokes work, what don't, and then they, based on that, do the first rewrite. So we started to do those over Zoom, and it was sort of funny. You can see if you're doing it on Zoom, it can tell you how many people in the chat. Literally 65 people in the chat, pages and pages and pages of people. But they asked that only the actors have their picture up, just so it didn't look like, remember they used to do those pictures in the early 2000s of like it's a gazillion tiny pictures that make up one larger picture, and if you get really close you can see, oh, it's all
Uh,
eyeballs, or oh, it's all lips, or anywho. I digress. So we did that, and then we were recording from home, each of us. They sent us equipment in order to do that. I actually obviously had really good equipment because of the podcast. What you couldn't account for was, even though this room is pretty great and it's pretty quiet, there are barking dogs, there's, the leaf blower, the garbage truck, the God knows what. And so it still meant that there was an inordinate amount of cleanup on the back end for the engineers.
hmm.
So as soon as last summer, 20th Century Fox, the studios started to open a tiny bit. They said, you guys can come in one at a time and record your bit if you want, still be directed over Zoom by one of our writers. You have to wear a mask. We sanitize in between each of you because, as you were saying, we used to record all together like an old radio play. And I love it. To me, that's still, I really miss that. We're such a well-oiled machine at this point that you can certainly go in and do your part on your own with no other interaction. But for me, I think you lose some of the nuance. So it's not been my preference. We're still doing it that way. But listen, I'm just grateful to still be employed and to get to play a character that I absolutely adore.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Are there plans to bring you back? Do they have plans to?
yes, I asked about that, and there were sort of mumblings like, "Yes, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how the vaccinations go if everybody's vaccinated." Because the room that we don't have a room big enough where you could space out as many people who are in that room. There's not a room big enough that you could space everybody out 6 feet apart. So, and I actually don't know what everyone else's comfort level is with that. I would be more than happy to go back. So, and I get my second vaccine on Saturday because I'm 56. So I was like, yeah, I'm eligible. Sign me up. Meanwhile, Detective Dan is 45, and he's like, well, he only became eligible like 2 days ago because he's a young one. Jerk.
But there's horizon. I mean, there is. It seems like things are opening up. So, are you? I mean, is there anything you'd like to keep from the pandemic work lifestyle that works for you better that you don't want to return to?
I, I think I definitely feel like I get more done working from home when I'm at the office. Although I really love, we have four employees. There are four of us who work at Paperclip. So there's me and Ben who founded it, and then we have Jordan and Nick who are president and vice president of production, respectively. They're incredible guys, and I love that camaraderie. I really love our lunch together. We used to just, like Uber Eats and then all have lunch together. Nothing fancy. But I would also find that I couldn't get a lot done because it's constant interruptions. So, and for instance, on the podcast, we have two editors who are phenomenal. We have a producer who also then listens to that pass that the editors have done, and then it comes to me. And then I'm the fine tooth comb editor. So I listen to those episodes at least 3 times before they get
Mm.
released, but that's time consuming. And I make notes on paper with time codes. So I edit on paper and then give those to the
Huh.
editors. So I really, I just ended up working on the weekends all the time because that was when I didn't have to answer 100 questions. So I'm like, I don't wanna. And they're like, Yardley, your name's on the door. I'm like, it's overrated. I don't, eh.